Okay, I think we're ready to begin. I did explain the format to Mr. Keefe, and so he is going to give us his opening statement, and then we'll begin the questioning with Councilor Donahue. Mr. Keefe, welcome, and look forward to hearing from you.
It's nice to be back.
First order of business is to turn on the microphone, and you'll be fine.
Meandering the halls, so many memories came flooding back, good memories. And so it's a privilege to come back, and I really want to thank all of you for giving me the honor of interviewing me as one of your 5 finalists. Why come back? Well, I started in the city 35 years ago, and as I joke, not without a lot of moment, I don't think I've learned anything since I left the city of Lowell. In the time here, every idea I had about cities and how to revitalize cities and infrastructure, I learned here. And my career has basically been one of continuing to apply the lessons I learned in Lowell to other cities in Massachusetts. In my private career, if you look at my resume, that's basically what I've been doing. I joke with my former boss that I revitalize cities for no money and no thanks. And of course, he doesn't get irony, so he said, good. So this is a great city. My wife and I enjoyed our time here. Our first child was born here. My 3 children are all up and out and doing well. And it's just total happenstance. I'm selling a couple of properties. I've finished the Hotel Commonwealth and all the retail. We're opening a patisserie in 2 weeks. 44 Prince Street is done, and we're almost sold out. And my other projects are projects that I intentionally, because of the market, I don't want to start construction for another 2 years. So I've got other projects, but I'm not committed to them, and I'm not fully vested in them yet. So there is this hiatus in my career where I could do something different. And the wonderful thing about taking on the challenge of being city manager of Lowell is it would really get the juices going. I have, in many ways, served as city manager of Massachusetts, which is another definition of Secretary of Administration of Finance, which I did for 6 years, the longest anyone has ever done that job. And I loved that job. It was just a supreme pleasure, and I enjoyed doing all of the nuts and bolts of running a state government. And there are many, many challenges here in Lowell that I probably am not aware of, many tasks that I have not done before. But I remember when I became Secretary of Administration of Finance, the governor asked me to do 3 things. He said, I want you to try to get cherry sheets out in the spring. And I want you to try to reach an accord with the legislature on revenue estimates so that we don't have a big budget crisis at the end of the fiscal year. And I want you to reform and fund the pension system. And I didn't know what pension systems were. I didn't know what cherry sheets were. Revenue estimates, I had never done one. But I'm pleased to say that we got cherry sheets out in April of the first spring I served as Secretary of A&F, and for the succeeding 5 years, we got cherry sheets out in February. To my knowledge, that hasn't been done since we left. That entailed reaching an accord with the legislature in February on 1/4 of the budget, which we did. Revenue estimates, we reached an agreement with the legislature every year early on. So it's just a question of the cost side of the budget, not the revenue and cost side of the budget. And pensions took me a bit longer. There was a bit of a chicanery behind it, but in 1988, we funded, and over a 40-year period, but it was a contractually obligated payment plan that the rating agencies rewarded us with a tremendous bond rating upgrade. And so I think I'm still able to learn at my old age, and so some of the challenges I'm not aware of in Lowell, I would enjoy confronting and learning about and solving with all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I guess I'm first at that. Let me, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. So what you're saying then is at this point in your career, you're at a point where you could do something different, and that's why you're interested in this particular position?
Well, it's a position that, in a lot of ways, I haven't left Lowell. I mean, when I was director of state planning, I was fully involved in Lowell and getting a lot of funding to Lowell. When I was Secretary of Administration and Finance, I was fully involved with Lowell, getting a lot of money to UMass Lowell, putting Middlesex Community College in downtown Lowell. I mean, I was always passionate about this city. And, you know, I don't look for a job. When someone told me this might be available, suddenly all sorts of internal sparks were ignited, and so I'm terribly interested. If in your wisdom you choose not to select me, I'm not going to look for another job. I mean, I enjoy doing what I'm doing.
So if you were selected, what would you do with your company? Would you still be a principal in the company, or
No.
how would that work?
No, I would shift my projects to my brother's company, Trinity Financial. And again, they're so early in the planning stages that it would be up to him whether or
So
not
that
to-
wouldn't be a problem
No,
to
not
do
at
that? And you wouldn't have any holdings that would in any way interfere with your duties or functions?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I would continue to own the Hotel Commonwealth with two partners. I would own, with my two partners, the management contract. That could entail as little as 4 meetings a year. Baker's Chocolate, I'm almost out of. I think, and 44 Prince, pretty much, and that's in the North End. So I don't think I see any conflicts, but I would have my lawyers rigorously analyze that, and
So, and you were here before, so you know what the city manager's job is like. And it can be pretty demanding, and, you know, the old adage of, you know, serving more than one master can get a little, and it's pretty tough in this city because you got 9 of them sitting here, so, you know, not to mention. Let me switch gears here a minute. What do you see as the biggest challenge to the city of Lowell right now?
beyond the usual revenue budget problems, I think the biggest challenge that the city of Lowell has is to stimulate retail development in the downtown.
What would you recommend?
I think that's a huge challenge.
Do you think that's something the city manager can be involved in or instrumental in?
I would think so. I think it's a citywide endeavor. You've got to spark life and activity in the city. I used to argue in my youth that city centers could do well if you had the university down there, you kept the post office there, you kept the high school there, and maybe you didn't need so much retail. I remember Jim Rouse, when he heard me say that, said, no, retail is very important. It's the spark, it energizes people, it catalyzes all sorts of community spirit, and I think he's right. In Kenmore Square now, Kenmore Square was a pretty rough and tumble place, methadone clinic, and we bought 12 buildings, and I was the lead partner in all the retail development there, and I'm pleased to say that we have some very, very exciting retail without a single national chain. I said no to Dunkin' Donuts. I said no to City Sports, and these are struggling entrepreneurs, but they're all making it, and even better, they're paying me rent. So, but if you haven't been down, you really ought to check it out. Eastern Standard Restaurant is just its first year of operation has been.
Do you see that as a possibility, that type of development?
I think you've got to do that. You've got to find young entrepreneurs, and you've got to find ways to launch them.
Are you familiar?
And then encourage them and hold their hands and.
Okay. Are you familiar with the JAM plan right now that has been, at least on paper, put together for Lowell? What do you think of that plan?
I don't want to give it a quick critique. It is bold and visionary.
If you were manager, would you recommend changes to the JAM plan?
Probably.
I mean, I'm asking because that's your strong suit, it would seem. Let me.
But you don't need to just talk about tackling these big planning issues. It's store by store, business by business. and then the whole really is larger than the sum of its parts. So.
What, you have a vast resume in terms of planning, development, A&F, and the like, and so that certainly speaks to budgets and to finance as well as planning development. What about labor negotiations? Have you had experience in terms of municipal contracts or
Well,
the like?
I negotiated every contract at the state level with 37 different unions.
So when you were at A&F, that was part of your duty?
Office Employee Relations Dan Sullivan was my guy. He was part of my cabinet, and I dealt with every union personally, and I signed every contract.
What do you think are the three main functions of the city manager?
Attending to the nuts and bolts of everyday workings within the city, trying to create a vision for the city which the council would support and carry out and get excited about, and obviously having a balanced budget. And
What do you think of what should be the relationship between the city manager and the city council? And that's my final question.
Yeah,
so.
I think in a lot of ways it's like, it's like being an A&F secretary. It's not your job to go to the chicken dinners and be political. It was your job to mind the store and take care of the details and look at the numbers very carefully. And that's what I did for 6 years. And and you talk about 9 bosses. In a lot of ways, to do the job I did at A&F, I certainly had to have 3 bosses. The Senate President, the Speaker of the House, and one could argue the 2 chairs of Ways and Means Committees, and of course the Governor. And I couldn't do what I did for the Governor without being extremely close and trusted by the 2 chairs. I found it more important, the President and the Speaker, and I surprised myself because I reveled in it. I really enjoyed it a lot, and there was nothing in my background to suggest that I'd be good at that, and I turned out being pretty good. You could call Senator Bolger, call Speaker McGee, and Kavarian, and I think they'd testify to that.
Thank you very much. I'm out of time, but thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Keefe, and welcome. Can you just real quickly, you have a BA and MA. What are those from Oxford University? What areas are those in?
A program so-called Modern Greats. It's philosophy, politics, and economics. And I emphasize the politics and economics.
Okay, thank you. A lot of good questions have already been asked about unions and budgets, and clearly have experience in it, because as I mentioned earlier, I think municipal finance or experience in budgets and finance is really a very important aspect of this job, particularly in times where year after year we're faced with tight budgets and shrinking revenues. What do you feel, if you were hired, what would you bring to the city? What would be, say, 3 attributes in the position of city manager?
Well, I had a lot of experience in the first year and the last 2 years at coming up with various scenarios for generating more revenue and cutting costs and finding efficiencies. And what I would intend to do is, basically develop, point programs of new revenue and cost savings and put them before you. And which is what I did with the governor and the legislature. And you would make choices. I think one of the things that, with your permission, I would really spend my time doing is working with the Mass Municipal Association to try to get more revenue out of the legislature, better local aid. Cherry sheets coming out in February so that you know what you have in terms of a budget from the state sooner rather than later. And I think because of my background, I think the guys in Mass Municipal have a lot of trust, and they remember when we worked so closely together. I put the local aid programs together starting in October to January. We met every week in my office, about 30 people. I was pretty open. I even had Barbara Anderson come to these meetings, and would negotiate how big the pie would be, and then we'd get into various distribution formulas. And at the end of it all, there was consensus. And that enabled me to go to the Speaker and the Senate President and say, I have consensus around this local aid program, which allowed them to basically do a resolution approving local aid in January. So every single city in town knew in February when they got their cherry sheets. We also cleaned up the cherry sheet. It used to be an unbelievably complex, convoluted document, and we simplified it, made it intelligible. We took a lot of chargebacks out, away from the cities and towns, and put it in the base, and so that simplified the cherry sheet. I think a major opportunity is to really work with other cities and towns to get more local aid and to get it more reliably and more quickly.
Sort of along the same lines, what strengths do you feel you bring to the city manager position? I see that planning or economic development is one of them. What else do you feel you'll bring to the city? And I think that's a big component of the city manager job at this point. But in terms of what else would you bring? What are your strengths?
Well, the only other thing I would mention is I think I have a management style which is open door. I return every telephone call. If someone wants to meet with me, I'll find time to meet with them. I also am a big supporter of cabinet-style operations. I had weekly cabinet meetings with all my agency heads, and if you think of A&F, there are a lot of agency heads, but we developed close ties. We shared information with each other. We identified challenges. On the pension reform bill, every agency that had a stake in pension funding or reform met every Wednesday night in my office. We came up with a plan. I had to sell the reform aspects to the police and fire department, if you remember. It was a major issue back then, which we managed to do. And the fire unions and the police unions bought into it, and we got it done. And the only way you do that is to not sit alone in your office, but to constantly have people in, sit around a table and discuss problems and try to figure out sensible ways to solve the problems.
What three initiatives or two or three ideas or initiatives would you bring as a city manager? What would you be your three areas of focus if you were hired?
I think I answered that already, but obviously the budget,
right.
Yeah, it's key. The vision thing, I think, is key. And just a little bit on the vision thing. I think Lowell is uniquely positioned of a middle-sized city in New England and maybe the country to go to the next level, to really define where cities like this can go and animate other communities across the country to try the Lowell method and try to imitate its magic. And Lowell's come so far because of all the fabulous work that's been done in the city. I'm glad I was a part of it, but Paul Songers, Pat Mogan, and so many managers here, so many mayors and so many councils that have just been dedicated to the city. And it's an unusual city in the way in which it's coalesced and stayed together and improved the foundation. And I think there is another significant leap the city can make, which will really be stunning. And how to define that, I haven't defined it yet, but that would be a challenge.
Okay, just one last brief question. My time is up. I think education, finance, public safety, experience with public safety. It's a huge part of a municipality. Any experience through your
A&F, obviously. I dealt with the police, the state police and the MDC police all the time. I used to play them in touch football, used to beat them a lot. And the unions and I became very friendly. I have plaques on my wall from both the unions, but day-to-day direct management, no.
Okay.
I think that's why you have a police chief, and by reputation, he's very well thought of, and I would want to be supportive and helpful and have an open door to him all the time so that he can do his job.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Needless to say, Frank, you and I go way back. That is not a secret, nor do I intend to keep it a secret. But our relationship has always been in a professional way. I, as Executive Director of the Housing Authority, and you, as a planner in Lowell, your imprint is on a lot of buildings in this city because of your commitment and your vision. But I also found in all the years that I've known you that you're more interested in getting things done, in bringing a vision forward, than you are playing a game of politics. And I had a first-hand experience with that I haven't forgotten, but I will not hold it against you. When he was A&F, and I wanted to go on the Housing Authority to represent the governor, I thought that would have been a shoo-in to call Frank Keith. Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I don't get involved in that. Call somebody else. And I had to do that. And to this day, I can never forget that because it was an apolitical attitude on his part, which I sense he still has. Having said that, I hope you still maintain contacts with the state legislature and the senators. I know that if you're in government long enough, there are contacts that you never lose. Because I think one of our key successes has been the great work that our delegation has had, working with our city manager. And I would hope that if you get chosen, that could continue in that same vein.
Yeah, I think cities like Lowell, and Lowell's been so good because it always has projects lined up, Jim, you know this, and the legislature over the years, around this time of year, there's a surplus, and they'd rather to spend it one time on projects rather than, do other crazy stuff with it. And Lowell's always been good because it's had a project, so you get funded for a project or two. Well, I've used the Lowell recipe in Kenmore Square to get all the T improvement money done. The Kerr Mill in Fall River, in Brockton, time and time again, basically having projects ready. And Lowell was always the best city in Massachusetts to have projects ready to go. Didn't know how to fund it yet, but you had projects to go, and as soon as the window opened, Lowell was there, and I do have maintained excellent relations with the legislature, and
you still have some contacts, of course, in the private sector that won't disappear, right? We could probably get them to come to Lowell and do some projects in Lowell. I want to hear a little bit about your statement, bringing Lowell to the next level. I think we all know what level we're in, at least individually we do it our own understanding of it. But what are you saying when you say in the next level? I don't know yet, but this one idea. I think it's, and Lowell's done a great job with the Merrimack Rep, the Songus Arena, LaLasha Park. You probably remember that I've always had this crazy idea about a Middle Street Mall. Yes.
And Bob Kennedy and some other guys, George Duncan, Fred Faust, and myself went to Halifax in England as a guest of the Prince of Wales because he wanted to revitalize industrial cities in northern England, and Lowell was the great success story. So Halifax has this wonderful central marketplace, as you find typically all throughout Europe. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could do a structure with amazing architectural merit that could, in some small way, create a context in which a lot of folks would think about coming and strolling through downtown Lowell year-round. Shops might open up, there might be booths, but you got to do it in a big enough way so that you have critical mass. You can't do it, a store here, a store there. It's got to be critical mass so that people from all around, gee, let's go to Lowell tonight. And that's one idea. And I'd want to test that and pull up, all the members of the administration together and see what that would entail, see what might be palatable, and see what you would support.
You had to move out of Lowell in order to pursue your career. Would you be, if you were selected city manager, would you move back to Lowell?
I would. My house is on the market now.
Now, finally, would you work here as a city manager without a contract, or would you insist on a contract?
I don't need a contract. If I do the kind of job I usually do, I'm not worried. I don't worry about being fired if you guys get disgruntled with me. I don't expect that to happen.
Thank you. My time is up.
I thank you. Good evening, Mr. Keefe. Do you have any interest or knowledge in nanotechnology?
None.
No, yes, you have none?
I have none.
Oh.
Nanotechnology?
Well,
It'll be like pensions. I'll learn.
you're going to learn about it, because it is very important. It's
Of course.
the up-and-coming
Of course.
thing in the city here, so I want you to brush up on it. And so, now you had strong ties in the city before us, and I know that you have, because I remember you from years ago. When was the last time, other than today, that you came back to the city?
I was here about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Now, I'm concerned that if you were selected to be the new city manager, lay out a scenario as to what would take place, and what would you be your first order of business besides learning nanotechnology? What would it be?
I think the first thing I'd do after learning about nanotechnology, I think I'll get started tonight on that one, but I think the first thing I'd do is look at your budget, see where you are, see where revenues are relative to costs. Just, find out.
You should have been here at 4 then, because we did the last of the budget. You would have been interested in it. Do you think that setting the tax rate in December is kind of too late, where some of my colleagues feel it should be set much earlier than that? Do you share that same philosophy, considering the fact that we don't have the cherry sheet in at that time?
Yeah.
What's your feeling on that?
Gee, I don't know. Yeah, obviously, I think the tax rate ought to be set when the budget's passed.
You mean like next Tuesday, tomorrow? That's early. You think it should be without a cherry sheet?
You don't have a cherry sheet yet.
No.
I'm assuming you have a cherry sheet.
Now, you have negotiated contracts. You've said that. Have you proposed any budget or gone over any budgets in the past?
At the state level, yeah.
At the state level, you have?
6 budgets for, $10 billion, going up to $14 billion.
Okay.
Fee, and, the Secretary of A&F back then also controlled every fee. So I could basically issue a notice and increase a fee. In '88, I increased fees by $100 million. We had to. We were slipping rapidly into difficulties.
Now, the salary scale is between $125,000 and $145,000. I know it's kind of redundant, and I ask this question because I want to know what type of a person are you that we're looking. I know that people that are good, and I know you feel you are as well, but I'm not one to increase it to 145, but I'm in the minority probably. I don't know. Would you, if we did finally agree and we chose 125,000, would you still be interested?
Sure.
You would be.
Yeah, money is not what motivates me, and I've been fairly successful, so.
What would your relationship be with the city employees in City Hall here? How would you?
I think it'd be good. I mean,
That would be
it was
good.
pretty much my style in the State House. And again, as I said, I wasn't sure I'd be able to deal with legislators in a relaxed, friendly, backslapping way, while also doing what I like to do, which is pursue an agenda fairly aggressively, but I did, so.
And you'd be the same way with the residents in the city, answering phone calls and things like that. How important to you are the neighborhoods?
Totally. As I learned here, that the emphasis in the past on the downtown was important. I remember Digital chose not to come to Lowell because the image and identity that the city had, which is always conveyed through the downtown, was negative. So neighborhoods take on coherence and vitality by being connected to a coherent downtown with an image and identity. And so once you are moving in that direction, you've got to replicate what you're doing downtown in neighborhood centers as well. And so basically, I think centers are important. Your city center, your neighborhood centers, and all the streets around those neighborhood centers have meaning by being connected to vital centers.
And so are our senior citizens, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Frank.
Yes, Jim.
It's a delight to see you again. I mean that sincerely. And thank you for being an applicant for the position. As you know, over the years, Lowell's success has been predicated on the public-private partnership that we've been able to develop. You were involved in the early days when we set up the Lowell Development Financial Corporation, the Lowell Plan, and the like. What would you do as city manager to strengthen and now reinforce those institutions? The LDFC just celebrated its 30th anniversary, and the Lowell Plan its 25th, and it really is remarkable to think that they've been around for that long.
Yeah, and the other group that I thought was extremely helpful in forging consensus in the city was the Center City Committee early on, and
Which they also still exist.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you know, boy, when I came to Lowell, there was so much disagreement. You know, let's fill in the canals, knock the mills down. Yeah, no one was going anywhere. It was all so negative. But groups like the Center City Committee, and then with Paul's help, the LDFC and whatever, the whole city came together. And I was thinking about that, probably, you know, talking about a cabinet, I'd probably want to bring those guys in for a regular meeting. And I think, you know, if we're going to talk about a vision and a plan, and you're going to debate it, you're going to discuss it, you're going to support it, I think you'd want to know that everyone across the city supports it. You know, they've been talked to, they've worked on it, they've contributed to it, and I think the city manager wouldn't be doing the job unless, you know, you could come back and say to all of you, we've touched every base, and we've got consensus here. What do you think? Where do we go? So.
Thank you. Affordable housing in Lowell has always been something that's been very important to me, and to obviously Armin, Mercier, and others over the years. Lowell is at about a 14% ratio of our housing stock. Would you support additional affordable housing in our neighborhoods? Again, under I think it's what, Chapter 40R now is an economic development tool to generate affordable housing near transit stations and the like, and I think that might be a tool that the next city manager may want to look at as it relates to, say, the Hamilton Canal District.
I think kind of a model that I would want to think about is what I did at Baker Chocolate, which is kind of middle-income affordable housing, no Section 8. It was, and it really transformed that neighborhood. And it's been long-term, incredibly revitalizing influence on that neighborhood. So I'd kind of look at models along those lines. And
Right. I mean, again, when you talk about affordable housing in Lowell, 80% of the median is $60,000. So I mean, you could still have a family of four making sufficient income and still have
that's
the
a teacher.
affordable housing. Right.
That's a teacher. Yeah.
Correct. That's correct. The other thing, working with our school department and the school administration. Again, very important to have a good relationship there. Tell me, as city manager, how you would look forward to working with the school department.
Yeah, well, schools, you know, the most important thing to have if you're going to be a mecca for new families. And so school funding is important, quality of schools is important, working with the state on all those issues is important. Back when I was Secretary of A&F, I authored the Equal Education Opportunity Program, and I made sure that Lowell got some money. But basically it supplemented local spending to get average per pupil expenditures up to the statewide average. The current formula, that was kind of put on the shelf in some bad budget years, and they came up with the most complex formula in the world, which like nanotechnology, I'm gonna have to study very closely so that I can go down to the state and argue sensibly about getting more money for Lowell through various formulas.
Thank you. One last question, if I could. Would you support spending tax dollars on marketing the city, continuing to market the city?
Of course.
You would? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Secretary Keefe, Mr. Keefe. I've read this resume over a number of times, and I'm going to ask you my biggest concern first, and then I'll kind of back into my questions. Why shouldn't I be concerned that you're overly qualified for this job, and perhaps after the first budget and the first year of setting things in motion, you're going to be looking over the fence at the private sector and all the other projects because you have been so successful? Why shouldn't I be concerned about you being overly qualified?
Because I view this as my last act.
Okay.
I started here, and as I said to Chris Scott at the Lowell Sun, there's a bit of poetry in finishing up here. And who knows, if I stop learning when I left Lowell, maybe I'll start learning again. And but I don't, I don't really want another job. I'd certainly dedicate myself to this for as long as you would have me, and then retire.
Well, I appreciate your candor. As a former governor's aide myself, I have a huge amount of respect for the Secretary of Administration and Finance, and that's why I come up with the overqualification. But let me ask you a little bit about nonprofits. I know that you've been in the private sector, and there's a bottom line there, and there should be a bottom line here. I know Councilor Caulfield's always reminded me of the bottom line, but nonprofits do operate in this city, and they're a large part of this city. And how would your administration bring them in and work with the nonprofits?
Yeah, as I mentioned to Jim, I'd probably include the nonprofits in my little kitchen cabinet on the next agenda. It's funny, scheduling the next meeting is sometimes the most important thing you can do in management. And if you had a weekly meeting with some kind of major players, critical agents in the community, that's important. And the nonprofits really appreciate it. When I did local aid, I had incredible different groups come in, and as well as legislators, and they were free to talk, and they invariably contributed something. So I'd pretty much develop the same style here.
Well, Lowell has continued to become even more of a diverse community since you were here. And have you had any experience dealing with communities with large, diverse populations?
Well, I live in Dorchester. Baker's is, mixed race. A lot of, in the hotel, a lot of folks from, I think we have 22 different countries represented in the hotel.
Right.
I don't see that as an issue for me at all.
Okay, I appreciate the answer. Eminent domain has become a big issue for this council in the last 6 months, and I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about your experience with it.
I actually, I was telling someone today a joke about locating the schoolboy track with Northeastern University, and the right site, which finally was developed, was not available until I threatened eminent domain, but I've never done an eminent domain. I've never done it.
Okay. Lastly, because I know my time is running short, I want you to know that this council has gone ahead and taken a page out of your book, because tomorrow I think we're going to approve a pilot program for the Palmer and Middle Street closings, and we're going to do a pilot program. So that's to your credit. Thank you very much for applying. I appreciate it.
Good.
Hey, welcome, Mr. Keefe. You've been here for a while. It's maybe a little late to be saying welcome. I was intrigued by a couple of your ideas on budget process, and you said, you'd not only review the budget, but explore ways of new revenues. Do you have any ideas about how cities like Lowell, I mean, we seem to be, at least in our present thinking, pretty limited what municipalities can do to attract additional revenue? It's always an issue for us.
Well, I'd certainly look at the fee side. The hotel tax has proven, in some cases, I know the city of Brockton, the mayor, Jack Units, he managed to pay for his baseball stadium by having, I think, 2, maybe 3 hotels develop around it, and the local municipality gets a chunk of that hotel tax. Yeah, I'd look at every conceivable possibility and bring them back to you and discuss it, negotiate it, and take it from there.
Okay. How about health insurance? Have you had to deal with challenges, negotiating health insurance? I mean, that cost escalates, it seems, on the government side, even more on the private sector side.
Yeah, the Group Insurance Commission was one of my agencies. Dolores Mitchell is still the executive director, and I appointed her way back when. And now, does the Group Insurance Commission cover your employees, or do you have your own system?
We're a self-funded, we contract out the management, but it's funded through the city.
Yeah, I'd probably go to the Group Insurance Commission and see what kind of ideas they have. And I'm going to mention that I do know people. Paul Levy is the president of Beth Israel. Tom Glenn is the chief operating officer of Partners. These are all people I work with in government, and they're friends. So, if that became a big issue, and we had to figure out ways that we had to get real efficient to save some money, then I would certainly reach out to those guys and tap them and their knowledge and see what advice they could give us to do the best job we possibly can.
Okay. How about this kitchen cabinet, so-called? I mean, we have these cabinet meetings here every Tuesday, but I know there are other stakeholders in the community too, so I'm a little interested in who you'd view, not necessarily individuals, but the roles of different people that might comprise that group.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't say it's a formal kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
You'd basically pull people in around issues. So I had a pension group. I had an employee relation group. And the employee relation group, was on benefits to employees and how we can improve the benefits of public employees. And so you have different groups around, different issues. We had a prison construction group that met weekly. So, it would be different groups for different challenges the city faces.
Okay. Is there any one thing you see? I mean, you kind of observe Lowell from a distance, but a fairly close distance in Boston. Is there something you see that we're not doing right or that we could do better? I know we've got a pretty good reputation around the state, but we're not perfect. Is there something you see missing here that...
Well, the city has done a spectacular job. It is truly a shining light for all the other middle-sized cities in Massachusetts to emulate. But I think you've got to, do more of it, go to the next level. And again, by observation, I think the retail challenge downtown, something's got to be done to really, make the Folk Festival a year-round event. Just have people here all the time. This is the place to spend a night, an evening, a Saturday afternoon. And if Lowell solves that problem, it will truly be a great national success story. And
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Councilor Broderick, I think, is next.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Keefe. Thank you for being patient. We're running a little bit late, and you're last on the list tonight. I have a question for you. It's been said that you can examine the budget and see priorities. What would your priorities be for the city budget?
pardon?
What would your priorities be for the city budget?
Well, city finances are such that you don't have the opportunity the way you do at the state level to make some bold moves, make some radical changes from year to year. I think you have an array of services that you've got to support, and you only have 2.5% on the levy, which gives you very little flexibility unless the state steps up and does something special for you, which I would really want to work on. But, so I think, the most important thing is stability. And it's, you don't want to have a rocky fiscal base. You want stability, you want coherence, you want predictability, and unless the state steps in and provides significant revenues, there's not a lot of flexibility.
Okay, well, but what would your priorities be? I mean, I understand we have to be.
Oh, it
has to be stable, hopefully. But what would your priorities be in terms of?
Public safety, and education.
Okay. Now, we also have here what we call free cash. I'm sure you've seen it down at with the governor. And what's your philosophy in terms of using that to fund the budget so that we don't have to raise taxes as much or at all, as opposed to keeping some reserve?
One of the things I did was create the stabilization fund at the state level, and really important to take a lot of money and stash it away. On the other hand, when I was Secretary of A&F, I noticed that a lot of cities and towns had accrued a lot of free cash. And here I was doing local aid, but some cities and towns had really significant amounts of money in reserve. And so I amended the formula such that we allowed cities and towns to have significant reserves. I forget what it was, 15 to 20% of the tax base in reserve, but anything more than that counted against them as I allocated money across the state. It just wasn't fair that some communities had virtually 100% of their tax base in reserve. And meanwhile, I'm giving scarce state dollars out to communities with a lot of reserves. So, yes, communities ought to have a stabilization fund, cash reserves, but 15 to 20% of the budget, is pretty reasonable, not 100%.
I wouldn't mind 15%. You've talked about increasing revenue, decreasing costs. Obviously, that's anybody's goal. Can you give us some specific examples of how you would decrease costs?
I don't know. I'd have to, do some more homework. It's another night of homework.
Do you have any idea where you'd look? I mean, the budget is very, very tight. We've got salaries and wages, 80% roughly, and we've got other fixed costs and utilities and so on. I didn't know if you had any specific examples or...
I don't.
All right. I'm going to ask again because it's been brought up, but in going through the resume and talking, listening to you talk tonight, and it kind of shocked me at the beginning where you mentioned that, you were thinking of taking basically a 2-year hiatus from work and trying this out or giving it a shot and, see if you can get it, see if you like it. If you don't, you're not going to go for another job. But why do you want to be city manager?
When I said 2-year hiatus, I didn't mean from work. I have about 10 projects that I'm kind of nursing along. And what I said was I'm not overly invested in them yet. I frankly don't want to start construction on another project in this economy. I think real estate, is going to be a little difficult in the next 2 to 3 years. So I'm not retiring, and I'm not taking 2 years off. But if you were not to select me, I'd continue to nurture these projects. Hopefully 2 or 3 of them would be ready to go in 2 to 3 years. Being manager would be something entirely different. I haven't done something like this since I was A&F. The juices flow. It's challenging. I like a challenge. It's working with people. When you're in the public sector, unlike the private sector, the phone doesn't ring unless you make it ring. There isn't a project unless you have an idea and you pursue it for 10 years, as I did with the hotel. In the public sector, the phone's ringing all the time. And the real challenge is how do you manage that so that you don't lose sight of the council's agenda, the city's agenda, and you make this constant frenzy of activity flow into lines that will result in progress for the city. And it's something I think I did pretty well at the state level. I think I did it pretty well here in Lowell. And I would expect to be able to do it well if I come back.
Okay, that's fair enough. I was concerned that you were looking at this as more of a safe harbor till the real estate cycles back.
I don't need a safe harbor.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul, for being here with us this evening. You've had a fabulous presentation, and your resume is overwhelming, I might say. A wonderful education, Fordham College, Oxford University, Merton College, and I don't want to sound facetious or not, but you've done everything you could imagine. You weren't on the ice when Bobby Orr scored the winning goal against St. Louis, were you? You've done everything I can imagine. On the Saugus,
I didn't mention my football in there.
on the Saugus Arena, when that facility was being built in '95, did you have reasons to meet with State Representative John Cox and the delegation?
But, yeah, no, John got the money.
What's that?
And John got the money out
I
of the
know that.
legislature, and no, I didn't, John was here, and we when I was working on that project, I met with him, and have a high regard for John. He did a great job.
If you were selected as Lowell's new city manager, would you retain the 3 assistant city managers we have now presently working for us?
I don't know who they are, and I certainly want to come up and sit down and chat with all of them and make an assessment.
Well, we feel as though that they're very capable, quality people, so.
Well, I would certainly give that a very high regard
Okay.
in any assessment.
Many questions have already been asked by my colleagues, but what would you call the most pressing problem as being the city manager sitting in that chair and that pressing problem in our city? What would you prioritize? What would you go address first?
Well, I think the mayor is the chair of the school department. I think the manager really has to be supportive of the mayor and the school department and being as good as it possibly can. I think public safety is key. In terms of marketing, Jim, I think any news about trouble in Lowell is not good for the city. And then thirdly, I think if Lowell is going to keep moving, I think you do need a replenished and revitalized and stimulating new vision for the next generation of projects in the city.
It's been stated probably 5 or 10 minutes ago that you could be overqualified for the position. No one is overqualified for this position. And I think it's incumbent upon this council to pick the most qualified candidate. So that's my feeling on that. But Mr. Keefe, you have an excellent resume. You've been co-chair or chair of many various, even worked for the Archdiocese of Boston,
I'm still on that board.
The ocean, everything. So you certainly bring an awful lot of experience to the table, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being here, and you had a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're at the end. Mr. Keefe, if you want to sum up, that's fine. If you'd just like to rest on your presentation thus far, that's fine too. Completely up to you.
I'll just take 30 seconds. Whatever you guys decide to do is fine. I'd like the job. I'd like to throw myself into the job. But I wish the city the best. I'll come back time and time again to assist the city. It's a fabulous community, and as I work throughout the Commonwealth, it's always Lowell that I refer back to because it is a shining star in the galaxy of communities in this Commonwealth. And I hope the next governor appreciates what's happened in this community and will support it the way it's been supported by virtually every governor in the last 30, 40 years. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I wish you the very best of luck.
Okay. Do we have to adjourn, motion to adjourn the meeting by Councilor Arman Mercia, seconded by Councilor Ramirez? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.